Anyone remember Alex Kidd? If you don't, then you probably didn't have a Sega Master System. This could be because you only had a Nintendo system through personal preference, or that you lived in the US where the 8-bit Sega never really took off. Well, alright, last time I talked about Alex Kidd I looked at his best game, Alex Kidd in Miracle World, which also happened to be his first game. They say sequels never live up to the originals in the movie business, but Alex Kidd is a shining example of sequel degradation on a massive scale. Sega, you see, in the 1980s were trying to use their young shellcore master as their Mario. They had this original game where you kick the crap out of wildlife to rescue your brother and girlfriend, and they thought to themselves, what if we put him into a BMX game? How about we reskin a game based on some anime nobody cares about and sell it to the West? Sound familiar? Well, how about we combine him with Shinobi? That's a popular series, right? That could be cool. Thing is though, none of these Master System or arcade titles were unplayable. Don't get me wrong, they weren't excellent games. The original game in itself was pretty niche, but how did the extra 8 bits and famous blast processing aid our little red fighter? Alex Kidd in the Enchanted Castle release for the Sega Mega Drive or the Genesis in 1989. For some this would be the first and only taste of Alex Kidd. Billed as the direct sequel to Alex Kidd in Miracle World, it followed on from the ending of the first, with the young prince setting off to find his father, into a land where the most dangerous thing to do is play rock, paper, scissors. Do you like that game? Well, if you don't, then you'll find nothing of worth here. Most of the time you'll have to beat someone at this just to have the luxury of buying something from a shop. Notably failing to win this game of chance costs you a life, but dying also costs you the money that the item costs, so you lose massively if you fail. Excellent business practice right there. Hey up, I've come to buy some sausages for my tea tomorrow. I'm sorry, new law. Can't sell you anything until you've gone best of 3 with me. Will you bet your life? My life? Oh well, I'll have to kill my own pig then. Anyway, I can't talk about this game without talking about the combat, because besides the platforming, it's really all Alex has. In Miracle World, Alex possessed a punching attack, which was relatively easy to use, and killed most non-bosses in a single hit. There were some issues with timing or angles here, the jumping, but for the most part it worked if you knew the enemy patterns, because Alex always died after taking a single hit. There were no super mushrooms. Well, here the punch makes a return, though it's harder to use. They slowed down the animation so that if you punch too late as an enemy approaches, then you die. Playing the game will acclimatise you to this, but it's slightly forgivable. But what isn't is a complete removal of aerial combat. Well, I shouldn't say complete removal, because technically Alex does possess an aerial attack option in the kick that is activated when you release the jump button. It takes some getting used to, and the odd attack box can get frustrating at times. Also, if you happen to forget to release the jump button, like in most games where you hold the jump button until you land, usually, then you die. Otherwise, Alex moves okay, but his momentum is not in keeping with his movement speed, so always consider his large stopping distance when approaching an enemy. Surprisingly though, there are some improvements to the original game. The inventory screen now acts as an equipment screen where you can temporarily equip and access items unless they're destroyed, though items need to be won back from rock, paper, scissors games if you happen to need new ones, so the prospect of dashing your cycle against a dangerous red rock is made even more daunting. In the original game, all the items were consumables that were lost upon use, and could be bought in certain levels only. You couldn't backtrack, so these items were not readily available, and the vehicles were limited to just the levels that the game wanted you to use them in, but making the shopkeeper a sadist is arguably worse. Bizarrely, there's even an option to play the Janken matches from the options screen. Presumably for fun?
But that's not fun. That's like totally lame and stuff.
The items let you do a variety of things that Alex can't normally do. The magic ring lets you shoot fireballs, just like in the first game. The motorbike is, again, just like in the first game. It lets you run over enemies without getting hurt. The only problem is that it's slightly harder to use because the level design is a bit more whack. The helicopter lets you fly and you can shoot. The necklace lets you read opponents' minds while playing those infamous Janken matches. The cape is invincibility. The cane lets you levitate for a temporary period of time. And the pogo stick. The pogo stick is really the only new item, and it's a bit crap. All it lets you do is jump a little bit higher. And you're stuck in this endless jumping. Alex still dies in one hit, and the collision detection is not perfect. Take care if you want to play it, but honestly I do not recommend it. If you have been thrashed by Alex Kidd in one of the Sega Superstars games and are curious about him, honestly skip this one over entirely in favour of Miracle World. That one is definitely a lot better. The graphics aren't that much worse either, because this is an early Mega Drive game and it predates even the Super Nintendo and the first Sonic the Hedgehog. This game meant that Sega needed a new mascot. You work it out.